Good morning. Welcome back to Jen's Awesome Show. I can see Smart DP hanging out in the comments there. Welcome. And to anyone else who's there, welcome back. I'm here with Russell Korus, and I think maybe we should start with tell us a bit about yourself, because I have met you, but I also feel like I don't really know that much about you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. So my name is Russell Korus. I got into crypto around 8 years ago. And at the time, I was mainly doing investing, looking for emerging markets, emerging technologies, new opportunities. And I stumbled across blockchain, started researching it. And once I wrapped my head around what this technology represented, it became my sole focus. Some would say an obsession. Certainly everything else got pushed aside, and I just started immersing myself as much as possible in the space, trading, programming, mining. I mean, any way I could. And in 2017, we had that amazing bull run where Bitcoin went from $1,000 in January to $20,000 in December. And during that year, I was getting frantic phone calls on a daily basis from friends, acquaintances, anybody, on Facebook, random people that saw my posts around Bitcoin. And every call was the same. People were desperate to buy, and they tried on their own and they couldn't figure it out. And they just hit one wall after another, whether it's transferring fiat in, whether it was doing KYC. There were just so many hurdles to accessing the space for somebody with no experience that it presented me with an opportunity. And, I really feel that this technology is transformative and is going to have incredible effects on our society over the next 5, 10, 20 years. So an underlying goal for me was always to get this in the hands of as many people as possible. And I felt that the user experience was preventing most people from getting in. Most people just don't have the technical expertise or the patience to see that whole process through all the way to the end. Most people would give up at some point along the way and leaving Bitcoin permanently in the fringes. So I've always wanted to help facilitate mass adoption. And so I started my company in December 2017 called Easy 365. It was at the absolute height of the market. Poor timing, but we survived and persevered, and we're still here today. But the idea, we launched an exchange in 2018 called Easy Exchange. It was one of the first in the world with credit card processing and telephone support, because those were two areas I thought were missing from exchanges at the time, and that made things a lot easier for most users with that experience. We've been working on, we have a gaming platform called Easy Win. We have a learning portal that we're developing called Easy Academy. And then about a year and a half ago, we launched Easy NFT to enter the NFT space. I personally got into NFTs about 2 years ago, and I saw the opportunity. And so we started a division, which essentially is an NFT incubator. So we work with anybody that has a creative, innovative idea around NFTs, but if they lack the resources or the expertise to execute, they can come partner with us, and we will do all of the technical, all of the marketing, all of the sales, and just let them focus on their core competency, whether it's art or whatever they want to do. When we were also, just to finish off, about a year and a half ago, we were acquired by a SPAC in the US. And we did an RTO. So we are what I believe we are the only pure play NFT company in the world that is publicly traded. And that's so we're in the US on the Big Sheet Exchange, and that's very exciting as well.
That is very exciting. You used the term pure play. I'm not familiar with that one.
Well, it's because at the moment, virtually all of our business development is in the area of NFT. So we do have other divisions that we are looking at, but right now, simply based on opportunity, simply based on the number of projects that I have in the pipeline, potential partnerships, it's almost overwhelming, despite what the media would like to tell you about the crash. And of course, prices have gone down. There's no way to sugarcoat that. But long term, those of us that have been in the space for a while, we know what's going to happen, and the technical innovation is continuing unabated, and that's far more important.
Okay, awesome. Of all the things that you do, what's your favorite? What one do you keep going back to or find yourself preoccupied with the most?
So I love art. I'm a big admirer of art, and I have zero artistic skill or talent whatsoever. I can barely draw a stick figure. So to me, when I see somebody create incredible art, even just conceptually, the fact that you can have a vision in your mind and then it somehow manifests through your hands, and now anyone else can enjoy it. That blows my mind. The fact that that's possible is incredible to me. So I first got into NFTs through art, through collecting and various different artists, and that's kind of how that was my exposure and introduction into NFTs. So I still have a soft spot for that, and we have a few different art projects that we are working on. The one that's coming up most quickly is with an artist named Ronnie Stretch out of Los Angeles and Las Vegas. He's a very well-known artist. He's been in the space for about 25 years. He's done individual commissions for Elon Musk. He's been at his house more than once. Robert Downey Jr. is a huge fan and has about 15 of his pieces. Hugh Hefner, before he died, the last commission he ever did was with Ronnie. So he has quite a pedigree. And Ronnie, he's in his 50s. He wants to do NFTs for the first time. He has zero experience with crypto. And that's the ideal sort of candidate for a project with Easy NFT, because again, what we're doing with him is he only does the physical painting. We take those paintings, we mint them as NFTs, and then we do everything else, and we just split the revenue on the back end post sale. But I love the art projects, and that's something that kind of keeps me going back. And there's just so many incredible artists that want to enter this space. I believe that every physical piece of art on earth should be issued with a corresponding NFT, if only to register provenance on the blockchain. So there's a natural fit, and it's not about digital art replacing physical art. It's about the two of them coming together to make the whole greater than the sum of its parts.
That makes a lot of sense to me, and I really, really like it. So are you open to working with all artists or more of the established ones, or do you have a goal there, or?
So it really depends on the project. The first art drop that we did, which was last summer in Newport Beach, I acquired 5 Andy Warhol physical Marilyn Monroe prints from the Sunday Bean Morning collection, and I commissioned 5 established NFT artists to create one-of-one NFTs, their own artistic interpretations of the Warhol piece. They each of them did an incredible job. Like the 5 finished pieces were just so diverse, but so beautiful in their own way. But in that situation, the artists that we worked with were already on the NFT side. And the value in that, we sold the physical and the digital together. That's also something I always like to do, combining the two. And in that sale, most of the value in that lot was on the digital artwork, because these were one-of-one uniquely created NFTs. The physical prints, they're gorgeous, 3 feet by 3 feet, but just in terms of monetary value, they were only worth about $500 each. So the value there was in the digital. In this particular case with Ronnie, he's a physical artist. So the NFTs will really be to verify the authenticity and the scarcity and the ownership of the physical art, but most of the value will reside, and again, the physical and digital will be sold together, but most of the value there will be on the physical side. So it really just depends on which way we go about it. I'm open to either one. Like I've got a roster of NFT artists that are amazing and have done phenomenal work, and I think are just waiting for true mass adoption, and in 5 years could be household names. But I also love bringing established artists into the space and educating them and teaching them and showing them how NFTs and the blockchain can enhance what they've already been doing throughout their career.
I like that. So here's a bit of a different question. Let's say that my mom collects art and she doesn't really get blockchain. She kind of has a real simple overview of it, maybe has a Wax account with something in it, but doesn't really connect the dots to how that works. But let's say that she gets wind of some of the art that you've got on an NFT and loves it. How do we get her in to get the art?
So there's 2 answers. The ideal answer is we are actually creating some simple learning modules that will take people through. And I've done this over Zoom, and I've walked somebody in their 50s with no experience to get them to the point where, we set up a wallet, a non-custodial wallet. Then we set up MetaMask. We tied the two together. Then we create an account on Gemini because they're in the US, and then have them go through KYC. Then I show them how to buy Ether with a credit card, then transfer the Ether to their MetaMask, and then show them OpenSea. So it's, 10 to 12 hours. But as I say, it's, you look at the internet, and 20 years ago, a lot of people were, in 2000, a lot of people were very hesitant, and, oh, there's so much to learn, and it's a fad, and who's going to use email, and who's going to use this whole internet. And 20 years later, every single person uses Google and an email and has a smartphone. So, these paradigm shifts can happen very quickly. And the same way, I think that if 10 years out, everybody will be owning and using NFTs. They will be as much a part of our daily life as the internet is today. So eventually everybody's going to get on board. But just like with the internet, the sooner you get there, the better off you'll be. And so I do encourage everybody to kind of make that commitment to themselves and take the time and go through and learn this space, because it's inevitable. You're going to be here eventually, but the laggards are the ones that don't end up having any opportunity. The early adopters are the ones that know where to invest and know what projects are good and can be on the forefront of innovation. And that's where all the opportunities lie. So that's the ideal way, is to go through the slow process and learn how to do this and do it right. The quicker way is we will have credit card processing. So somebody with no experience, they can go in, they can enter their credit card, they can buy the piece of art, and then we will post-sale help them and work with them to get them to the point where they can actually know how to manage their NFT and how to send it potentially, and how to keep it in their wallet, how to keep it safe, etc. So we will have sort of shortcut on ramps, but in the long run, there is no substitute for learning how to do it right.
I have to agree with that, but it's amazing to have that shortcut on ramping. Yeah, that's really good, because that will get people in the door, even if all it does is make them want to understand a little bit more about how it works. If somebody is looking to learn about crypto, and let's say they're looking to learn from a person, how are you available to do one-on-one lessons, or how does that all work? Do you have tutorial videos? What's your preference? I'm willing to help almost anybody that reaches out to me. And Jordana, who you met as well, my wife, she's become my gatekeeper, and so she will. Anybody that wants time with me has to now go through her, because I just say yes to everybody. And I put here on Telegram, I am at NFT King. If anybody wants to reach out, just let me know where you got my Telegram, so I know you're not just a bot, but to say I saw you on Jen's awesome show, and I'll be happy to help at least steer you in the right direction. There's some amazing YouTube videos. I really prefer, and people have told me, you really should start charging for your time, but I feel like, the universe will find a way to repay me. And if I give people some of my time and help them enter the space, it's going to find a way to reward me some way, somehow, more than the $100 or $200 an hour that I would charge. So I would say reach out to me on Telegram at NFT King, and I'll be happy to help. Awesome. Thank you. That's
sorry. I wanted to introduce myself and just say hello, but
please
do. It's fantastic. My name's Russell as well.
That's great, and I understand that you also spell it with 2 L's, not like the sociopaths that spell it with 1.
yeah, it's just shortened to Russ.
A lot of people call me Russ too, but
it's usually Russell.
It's great. It's not a very common name, so it's always great when I meet somebody else.
As a first name for sure.
Yeah.
The whole NFT and art thing is fantastic. I had looked on your website a little bit and saw that there was a bit about real estate, and you're talking about an academy and getting people in. As far as you getting kind of like karma, where it'll just eventually come back to you in some way, in a positive way. Yeah, probably. It'll probably be, I think in many cases, it'll be like networking, and people will remember that you're the guy who helped them out. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
they're
always
going to
think it's
think
like
of it.
if they see big, if they see the price going up and they see or they hear about Bitcoin on the news, and in the back of their mind they're like, oh yeah, I remember Russell helped me out. That was so nice. Even just that good thought goes out into the universe,
It
that
does.
makes things better. That has an impact.
Yeah, and even if they don't directly help you, maybe it turns out they go and they take what you taught them and teach 10 other people. So
Hmm.
yeah, they can pass it on in some positive way for sure.
Exactly.
That brings up kind of another set of questions here. When we were in New York, I got to see you speak, which was awesome. But you were talking about the potential of NFT mortgages. And I would like to talk some more about that because I'm still curious. For anyone who doesn't know, can you give us a brief overview of that?
Absolutely. So this is, in general, in that presentation, I mentioned the fact that, I love art. That's what got me into NFTs. I love collectibles. I have a huge NBA Top Shot collection. I'm actually in the top 0.1% of all collections in the world. I love metaverse, obviously, between Uplift and other metaverses, I've got lots of land. And these three pillars are really what's brought NFTs to where they are today. But to really get to that next level of true mass adoption, I feel like NFTs are going to have to disrupt traditional industries, and that's the area that I'm most excited about over the next 3 to 5 years. And I feel like mortgages and the mortgage industry is ripe for disruption because it's basically unchanged. The mortgage transaction, with the advent of the internet 25 years ago, we got email. Okay, so that made things a little bit easier, but fundamentally, the transaction is exactly the same as it was 100 years ago. And I think the blockchain can have some profound advantages, if only to register all land ownership onto the blockchain and make land ownership trustless. In North America and elsewhere, it means a more efficient, more secure, more privacy-focused process. But in many places where there's a lot of fraud or corruption, or where everything is kept on paper, government office gets flooded, all the paperwork gets destroyed, and then good luck proving you own the land you live on. So this has the power to really make a profound impact in entire communities, increase societal trust. So I think there's a lot of benefit to it, and it's the technology is really ideal to. Ultimately, blockchain is all about eliminating intermediaries, and that's really why banks and central governments hate it, because that's all banks are financial intermediaries. And with DeFi, almost anything you can get through a bank, you can now get directly peer-to-peer through decentralized finance. So we're looking at that model to eliminate as much of the intermediaries, and there are a lot of them in the mortgage process, as possible. So the first stage is we're going to be using NFTs for all of the documentation. So my partner, who is the largest private lender in Canada, Matrix Mortgage Global, and the broker of record, Sean Allen, when they initiate a transaction with a client, the client has to send in a lot of personal, sensitive information, their pay stubs, property tax records, all that. And I didn't realize this until he told me, but there's a lot of fraud that people, try to put one over on the mortgage brokers. So the first thing his agents have to do is verify the authenticity of all of the documentation that comes in. As soon as they do that, they then can start the process. All those documents then have to be sent to other stakeholders like lawyers and lenders and appraisers. And again, they have to verify the documents all over again because it's email and it's insecure. So the first stage is, as the documents come in, as soon as they are initially verified, we will mint them as NFTs. Doing it privately and anonymously, it'll generate a random 30-character URL. That URL can then be sent to any other stakeholder. They click on it, it brings up the image of the NFT, and they know that they can with absolute certainty rely on the authenticity of the data in that document. And that's stage one. Then stage two is looking at the legal. So obviously, a lot of real estate transactions are very complex and have unique characteristics to them. But for most, 90% of transactions which are standard, we can roll all of the legal aspects into the smart contract to try to eliminate lawyers from the equation as much as possible. Stage three is then looking at all the mortgage, the financing, the insurance, and all of that, and working all of that through decentralized finance as well. The last step is then going to the industry, going to the regulators and saying, here's the process we've created. Here's how you do things today. Here's why our system is better. This should become the new standard. Or at the very least, we want you to recognize our transaction as legally valid. And then ideally, we want to connect the land registry office to the blockchain as well. In a perfect world, when all of this is complete, you should be able to buy a house on OpenSea the same way, by buying an NFT with Ethereum. And that just starts a chain reaction, and the smart contract executes, and everything goes through, and the title is updated at the government office, and it's now you are now the new owner of this physical property as long as this NFT is in your wallet.
I love that. There are so many hoops to jump through to get a house, and it's different depending on which financial institution you're working with, which lawyer you're working with, and which land titles you're working with, and how their system works, and if it works. That we've ran into that a couple times too. And oh, we have this new digital system. Oh, and it's broken. Great. And then there was nobody to talk to. Oh, we don't take phone calls. You have to use our digital system. Yep. Well, it's broken. So give me the title to my house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even Malta, you'd think Malta is known as Blockchain Island. And I have a friend who lives there. I travel there quite a bit. And, he says he's trying to buy a house. It took 3 months just to get the property records pulled from the different, because again, it's 100% paper based. And that's what it takes, 3 months. If you want to buy something today, you can put in an offer 90 days from now if you're lucky.
Yeah, that's
a long time.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait 90 days. If I find my dream house, I want to move in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask you maybe a hard question, but what about scams? Because that happens. People lose their NFTs to a scammer. So could I lose my house?
Yeah, so there would definitely have to be sort of a transactional safeguard in place where, right now, okay, if you can acquire a Bored Ape by going to OpenSea and buying one, or you can hack somebody's wallet and steal one. Either way, you're going to have that Bored Ape is effectively going to be yours. Yes, your wallet may be blacklisted on OpenSea, but there's other smaller marketplaces. You can still effectively kind of get value for it if that's the case. So what we want to do is ensure that there's two parts to the process. One is the ownership of the NFT, but there will have to be a corresponding trail to ensure that the transaction, and I think the government is going to insist on that anyway, because they want to make sure that houses don't get lost because somebody clicked on a phishing link in their email. So there will definitely have to be safeguards in place, and we'll work with the industry to ensure that only verified valid transactions are changed.
Yeah, as you were speaking, first describing it, it sounded like you had thought of many, many things, many details that I didn't even think about. I didn't realize that there was so much information passing between lawyers and mortgage brokers just to verify things.
Yeah,
yeah, you certainly cut down on all of that.
Exactly, and the market is, globally it's like $100 trillion a year just in North America. It's there's I think 150,000, more than that, individual mortgage transactions. So we just ran the raw numbers, and even at 5% market penetration, at $50 per transaction, it's something like $375 million a year in revenue just in North America. So it's one of the biggest industries on the planet, and again, it's kind of a dinosaur. So it could definitely stand to be improved.
Well, and if you're looking at a ballpark of $50 per transaction or less once it's all streamlined and accepted, that is financial savings for people, because it's not cheap to buy a house either. You're paying fees to the bank, the mortgage broker, the lawyer, any kind of estimators, any kind of professionals you're getting in to do work on the house, anything like that. And if there's some sort of a disclosure statement, having that saved as an NFT forever saves time. The next time you go to sell the house, you have that, and then whatever you need to add to it. Like this year we had mice. Okay, now we know. but you can't change it. Once somebody
Mm-hmm.
has disclosed something, the new homeowners might get in there and realize that it was more than they were expecting, but they can't lie about it to sell the house.
That's exactly right. And absolutely, we want to make it so that, and so even, you go like, there's, a physical inspection. If people are still going to want a knowledgeable person walking through the physical structure to ensure the foundation, the roof, etc. is all fine. That report then ideally will be added to the NFT. So the NFT will be sort of open-ended on one end. Obviously, once any data is written to it, it's immutable, but it can have additional data added to it, much like a blockchain, and it'll just keep growing. And eventually, it's like the Carfax thing, where you have the whole history of the house and everything about it. And if we work with new home builders, they can initiate that from the very beginning and put their blueprints and architectural drawings, anything that the owners might need, could all be there in one place.
I like that.
That'd be really nice. I'm an electrician, and if there was some way to get, if I pull a permit to do work, if there was some way to connect that to a house, so people could see, I added on these circuits or removed this, put in a new panel. Yeah, it would be nice to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I know that you can add data to an NFT if it's on Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
The Uplift is working on doing that so that the picture on your plot NFT will reflect what you've actually built, which is super exciting.
That's
so exciting. I'm going to make another unicorn. But so far, it seems to be that from what I know anyway, and I might not have accurate knowledge, it's whoever creates the NFT, the owner of that contract, can update the data. Is there a way to figure it out safety and security wise so that anybody can update the data?
We're working on that.
Accuracy, or how's that all going to go?
That's a great question. We're looking at different options. We're working with our smart contract developers, and it's really, we're getting now into sort of the next generation of programmable or intelligent NFTs, where they can respond to external data sources or any kind of, whether it's through Oracle or something like that. And so it can be changed on the fly. And that's exactly it. We have to ensure that, again, just like with the blockchain, once data is written, it can never be altered or deleted, but new data can be added sequentially, and then so that you can actually see the progression.
I like that. Another question would be about privacy. If I have my mortgage on an NFT on the blockchain, what's to prevent somebody who's watching my wallet and is crazy and wanting to, I don't know, murder my family from tracking me down and murdering my family?
Very good question. Absolutely. That is a concern, obviously, privacy in general, and specifically with, your home address or any real estate that you may own. Most people want to keep that information private. So we are looking at a dual wallet system, and it's almost like there'll be one wallet dedicated, which will be public facing, dedicated to where the NFT will sit. That one will be completely anonymous, or it'll be registered to some, to our company, so that every wallet, much like a Binance wallet would be an individual customer wallet. And then it'll be connected securely, privately behind the scenes to an individual's existing wallet, that may have like russellkorus.eth or whatever. They may have their ENS name that they don't want disclosed. So that is a very good point. It's something that is a consideration that we're factoring in, and we're going to make sure the final process is accounted for.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that because that's the thing that I learned about in the last year. There are crazy people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, they exist.
And very private people.
Yeah.
Yes, very. So that kind of factors into the next part of this. I recently learned about something called I think it's a zero knowledge protocol. Is that something that could be applied to this somehow with any success? Like, I'm not, because there'd be so many moving parts going into it, I'm not sure how that all works.
I've begun looking into that. I don't have enough confidence yet to speak about zero knowledge proofs, but
okay.
Yeah, definitely. The idea is a closed system ultimately, right? So the data goes in, everything, you're controlling what is visible, what goes out. And again, because we're talking about such sensitive data like land ownership, it's definitely a consideration. It's got like the whole thing has to be wrapped in that layer of privacy and security.
Okay. Yeah. Just all the curiosities. Okay. So here's another one. Co-ownership. If I am jointly owning my house with somebody, whose wallet holds that NFT, or do we have to have a wallet together?
No, so we can. That's a really good question. We were talking about that very possibility, and there's the simplest way would probably be to have a smart contract determine. So the percentage split would be written into the smart contract. It could then generate two separate NFTs, if they're at 50-50 or 70-30 or whatever the case is. Each one would have their own unique data. And then that way, and then the smart contract could also have, like if you wanted to have right of first refusal, if one partner wanted to sell and the other person, didn't want a stranger owning the other half. So all of that, definitely, all of those different clauses and considerations can be written into the smart contract. And then that way, the person initiates a sale, their NFT cannot be listed until the other owner, clicks I want to buy or no, I pass, and then it can be listed. So those types of things. And again, it's the beauty and the curse of mortgage transactions. They can be extremely complex. They can be extremely unique. Every piece of land on earth is non-fungible, and so the transaction to buy or sell it oftentimes will be unique as well. So that's something that we're going to have to fight through.
I like that.
I like that you have the technology, and what you're dealing with is really human beings, is people's different behaviors and attitudes and the way we interact with one another. That's what you have to design all this around.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
They're big questions, and when you've got them figured out, then you're going to do very well and help a lot of people.
Definitely.
It's a human problem, though. Like, despite talking about technology, it's everything you're describing is people.
That's exactly it, and it's really like, a lot of this is just brainstorming. Like we're still very early in the process, so a lot of these questions are food for thought. Or I don't really have a definitive answer yet, but it's the kind of things that my team and I, we sit down and we just throw a question out and we just start talking about it, and we get these amazing solutions come to the surface. So it's a lot of these things are things that we're going to be discussing and working through over the next 6 months as we roll this out.
I'm excited to see it. Also, though, if you can have some sort of fractionalized ownership, then would I be able to start let's say a DAO and fractionalize ownership of a multifamily residence, and everyone who owns the place in the multifamily residence is a member of the residence DAO?
So absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of work being done in the fractionalized real estate space, and it's adjacent to what we're doing, but it's not directly overlapping. And it could definitely, the two projects eventually will go together. So they are dealing with most of the fractionalized. It's really about owning or allowing ownership of really high-end properties to make them available to smaller investors through fractionalization. And I love that model. I think it can work for real estate. It can work for fine art, jewelry, antique cars, anything that's $1 million or more that people might want to collect or own a small piece of. And I think there's some really good projects along those lines. And I'm hoping that they will then use us for the mortgage once we're up and running. But that's why I say that the two projects can work hand in hand, but we're not working directly on the ownership on the fractionalization side.
Okay.
That makes sense, that there'd be certain types of real estate that you'd be able to solve the problems for first, and then you could help people there before others. Yeah. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing. It can be, you're doing really well at, I don't know, you figured out single home dwellings. Perfect. Then you're number one at that, and maybe the next thing on your list is to tackle, I don't know, timeshares. So, yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's an interesting one too. So, what if, and this is one that I ran into when we were doing our will, was we have all these crypto holdings. If I kick the bucket, how does that get handled legally? Because I mean, I know I can give my password to anyone and they can wipe my stuff clean. Great, easy. But legally, how does that all get handled? So if we have a house and let's just say that I have a house and I'm sole owner. I kick the bucket. Russell's my next of kin. How does he get access to the deed to the house?
So again, that'll be with the kind of dual process where, or it's almost like 2FA, where you have the ownership of the NFT as well as some other verification that the transaction is legitimate and valid. And I don't have exactly what that process will be, but there will definitely be something there for sure. So it'll be that way, and it'll just be part of your estate. It'll be, you'll be able to cover that in your will, in probate, all of the same way as the traditional house would be transferred. They'll just have to have that additional step of making sure that the NFT ends up in the right digital wallet as well.
Okay, and so then I'm guessing that my power, whoever my power of attorney is, would probably have to have some sort of verification on file with my mortgage people as well. Okay.
Yep.
That's not too shabby. But then in terms of getting access, like what if I die and take my passwords with me?
So this will have to be, this will have some centralized, I'm actually trying to figure out a way to do a hybrid model because, we don't want to strictly force people into custodial wallets. I want people to understand what they're doing and care for their own private keys and be fully responsible and a true node in the network. But at the same time, people forget their passwords, people lose their passwords, things happen, and we cannot be in a situation where they now no longer have access to the ownership records of their home because they forgot their digital wallet password. So there will definitely be some sort of centralized custodial component. And again, I'm working with developers to try to find the most elegant hybrid model. But one way or another, there's going to have to be a forget password button that you can click and reset your password. So
that's good to know. Yeah, because even with something like when with Wax, when they have third-party authentication. So I signed in with my Facebook, and then one day that broke, and it just never got fixed.
Yeah.
So I had to have something as a backup, and I did, thankfully, but it was a real surprise, and there were people who didn't have the backups and had to go for resets. And yeah, it's whether we love it or hate it, it's a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I guess that would be my only other thought, is that there does have to be some sort of a centralized component to it, but how much is too much? And that is a fine balance to try and figure out.
That's the balance where we've got to try to find exactly where that line lies.
And I guess too, the legal wording around any kind of estimates or what's the word I'm looking for? Inspections. Just saying that, it was done by a person. People are full of failures sometimes, and it is what it is. It's what we saw at the time. That's it. And all of, there's wording for that.
For sure. And that's the thing. We cannot get rid of, we can streamline the process, but we don't want to eliminate accountability for every stakeholder along the way. If they sign, an inspector comes in, if the roof ends up collapsing, you can go back and sue the inspector. There's repercussions there. So we want to make sure all of those are still in place and everything is documented every step of the way.
Awesome. Yeah. That all sounds wonderful and awesome. So switching gears again, back to your exchange, the Easy Exchange. How do I find that on the internet?
So we've actually we launched it initially as a user exchange, like any of the others. We've since taken it down. We're about to relaunch it as an institutional trading desk. So it's going to be more B2B rather than B2C. The reality is the user experience still is not quite where it needs to be, but it's improved significantly since 2017. And Binance and Huobi and Gemini and Coinbase, there's some real behemoths now in the industry, and user acquisition is just become exceptionally expensive and difficult. And these like, I'll be the first to admit that these exchanges are so feature rich today that much of our competitive advantage is no longer there. When the user experience was horrible, we had something real significant to offer. So we are retooling that again. Most of our focus right now is on the NFT side anyway, on Easy NFT. And hopefully in Q1 of next year, we will relaunch Easy Exchange as an institutional trading desk.
Cool. Okay. I'm going to keep my eyes open for that. And I understand very much that trading currencies and trading NFTs is a different thing. Is there going to be some sort of something with Easy NFT where I can trade my NFTs?
So we thought about that, and I think we'll probably end up just partnering. Again, between OpenSea, Looks Rare, there's Rareable and Mintable, and there's a number of good marketplaces out there. Again, to try to build something to compete with OpenSea today. I mean, if you've got deep pockets, like Looks Rare has done it, but they've kind of dropped off a little bit. They came in with a lot of hype in January and haven't heard much about them lately. Ultimately, I don't think reinventing the wheel is probably in our best interest. So we'll probably maybe get a white label, maybe just partner. Most of our drops, what I like to do with these art drops is utilize a custom browser-based minting process. So we build a site, we funnel all of the marketing to our own website that we have full control over. We have, connect your MetaMask, mint button when the time is right. We'll have a little countdown timer. And then as soon as you mint the initial sale, you can immediately resell your NFT on OpenSea. So we typically mint on a custom blockchain called Wire. The great thing about this blockchain is it's gasless, and with 2 additional lines of code in the smart contract, the NFTs are compatible with Ethereum. So a person can mint for free without any gas fee, and then immediately turn around and sell it on OpenSea. Ultimately, Ethereum is still 90% of the NFT market. We love Wax, and I love Polygon and Solana and a few others, but ETH is still where it's at. So that's where we want people to be able to resell in the biggest marketplace.
I'm curious now about the whole business of minting. So a private blockchain, you mint without gas, but then it's compatible with ETH?
That's correct. And it could be compatible with any, like if we wanted it on Polygon or Solana or Cardano or Binance Smart Chain, or all of them. In fact, they can make it so that the NFT can be literally directly sent from one blockchain to another. They're an amazing group of people. They develop their own proprietary blockchain, and they're developing applications on it. But then their development team can also be outsourced for custom projects as well. That's what we're doing.
Okay, yeah, because that was going to be my next question is, can I do this for my land key?
Yes.
And if yes, then why isn't everybody doing this?
So their technology is proprietary. I don't know how hard it is. I know that interoperability is something most people are working on, at least in theory. They've actually done it, and that was very important for us. So that's who we went with, and so far we've had a great relationship with them.
I like that, and yeah, maybe not necessarily for land keys, but for in-game Upliftium. If I could choose where I'm minting that would be a whole other thing.
Since Uplift is on two different blockchains there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go back and forth.
Yeah, it would be nice between Ethereum and Wax to be able to send stuff back and forth.
It would, without as much of a hassle.
Yeah.
Because that, and any kind of a bridge is just, it's nerve wracking because half the time it's broken and you don't know why. And do you have the right protocol token? Do you not? Who knows? And especially if you're new, it's just not a good time.
No.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay. Well, now I know what I need to do my homework on. So that's a good thing. Let's take a look a year down the road. What is your life going to look like? What will you be doing, and how will the world be different and better for it?
Wow, that's a big question. Well, I mean, I look at the last year, or especially about the last year. So I've done extensive traveling, especially after Corona. I've been so grateful for that, being able to attend shows and speak around the world on these topics. I definitely intend on continuing that and raising my public profile. I am actually trying to invest a little bit of money into raising my personal profile. I despise the term influencer, but that's, I don't know what else to call it. And I look at Gary Vee as a good example, right? Like he's taken his personal persona has become a brand, and a very, very successful brand. And he can now launch projects, and he's got such a following, and he's got some real influence. And I want to be able to, all my talks are all centered around the same thing. Like, this is, you guys, you have to come into the space. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about already, become familiar. It's going to change the world. And if I can increase my reach for that message, I would be very happy. And then with the company, we want to continue to build. We're looking at bringing in additional investors, increasing, the potential bandwidth, increasing the number of projects that we can do, and continuing. I have a project that I'm looking at in the supply chain space. I have a project that in the fraud and luxury goods and pharmaceutical space. I think I talked about that in my presentation a little bit. So there's just so many. For every one project that I'm actually doing, there's 10 that I want to be doing and just don't have the resources. So that's my goal, is to sort of increase the foundation of resources that I have access to, so that I can do all these amazing projects.
I like that.
Not just easy exchange then, but yourself branching out and being adaptable.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I see that. And just to touch back to my foundation, we have land for you in the Uplift. You have land.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yes, you're next door to, I believe, Wombat, Ape Swap, across the Spawn from Meta Art Club, NFT the movie. What do you want to do with your land?
I don't know. I mean, I really want to. I just want to I love the idea of. I want to develop meeting spaces. I want to develop really cool, attractions, people, things that people would want to spend time doing. I have some ideas kicking around. I know we're connected to one builder. I may need somebody else, but basically, I just want really creative, innovative builds that make people go, wow. That's what I would love.
Will there be a place for the Maryland NFTs?
Yes, for sure. I will. An art gallery is definitely on the agenda. That'll be one of the first things to be built, and both for all the easy NFT projects as well as my personal collection. I would love to be able to showcase all of that.
That sounds fun. And are you going to be exclusively having builders help you out, or did you want to jump in and learn all about it and do some stuff yourself, or how do you plan on doing that?
I would love to. I never, I don't have any experience even with Minecraft. So I learned a little bit with the, with Uplift before and going around to my lands. And some of the legacy lands in Genesis have been developed and have some really cool things on there. So I kind of learned a little bit of the motion and the gameplay, but I just don't have the time to dedicate to mastering it. It's a lot of fun. I would love to be able to, take a couple weeks off and do nothing but play Minecraft, but I don't think that's in the cards. So
That's fair enough. Well, I know there are certainly a lot of people out there who would be delighted to help out, so
yeah,
we can hook you up with them.
perfect.
And if you do decide that you want to learn, our friend Heidi is a great example of people learning who have never
Yes.
done it before.
Yeah, she took it with her son, and they learned together.
Yeah, well, and we dove in yesterday, and I had plans to do whatever it was I had plans for, and she said, "How do you fly in survival?" Okay, well, that's what we're doing now. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so but it is a process, so I can certainly understand it not necessarily being first on your list, but
Yeah.
I'm excited to see your gallery. I haven't seen your art collection, and now I want to. Just straight out of curiosity.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I've got like that. That's what it would be nice, because I've got a bunch of stuff on Nifty Gateway. I've got a bunch of stuff on Maker's Place. I got a bunch of stuff in my personal wallet. It's all and fundamentally, it's nice to be able to like enter a room, even if it's a virtual room, and then just see everything on the way art is meant to be admired and displayed and appreciated. You shouldn't have to pull out your phone and try to look at a small screen and, oh, look at my cool piece of art.
Exactly. If it's there and I can wander around and look at it, it's a good experience.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Excellent. Well, we'll hook you up with the how-to process for that when the time comes. It's pretty straightforward. So
I'll definitely take a raid check on that.
Excellent. I think I've gone through everything on my list here. Does anyone else have anything to add? Silence. Cool.
I'd say thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you as well. This was a lot of fun. It was great. And yeah, as I will say to everybody again, if you haven't already done so, come on into this wonderful world of NFTs. It's really amazing here, and there's lots of people to help, myself included. So don't be shy, and the sooner the better.
Yes, and definitely don't be shy. Everyone I talk to, I learned something new. So highly, highly recommend just ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
All the questions. This has been fun, and that's we're off. We're done. So
Amazing.
thanks for joining.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.